Hey everybody, what's up? Sorry I haven't had time recently to make any movie reviews, Christmas and all that stuff. But I saw Aquaman on opening night and I still want to review it for you. As a heads up, I'm going to be changing up my reviews just a bit. I'm going to start breaking down my reviews into 4 categories, each worth 5 points each. I will then tally all the scores together at the end for a final score and rating. For Aquaman, I have chosen the story, the effects, the action, and the acting. Let's start with the story. And I hate to start with the biggest problem that Aquaman faced. First of all, it's somewhat of an origin story, even though it occurs after Justice League, which made no sense. And the writing is just plain stupid as it plungers into the dark abyss of pure camp and cheese. I get it, it knows it, but it goes way too far on a level I've never seen in a comic book movie before, and it never resurfaces for air. Basically, the main plot is that Arthur's half-brother Orm wants to unite the different kingdoms of the sea, become Ocean Master so he can attack the surface because we've been polluting the oceans with battleships and trash. But Aquaman isn't just one story. It's composed of many smaller microplots on top of the big picture. How his parents meet, how they fall in love over hot tea and have a baby. It's just silly. Black Manta has no purpose here at all either. But still, he's in the movie and we get what feels like a forced origin story, with weird, hand-me-down knife montages that instantly foreshadow his own father's death. Aquaman's arch-nemesis here is almost ruined, used as only filler, and though I'm pretty sure he got decapitated midway, he returns for a mid-credit scene as sequel bait. The constant one-liners and rom-com treasure hunt halfway through in Italy with Mira and Arthur trying to show romantic feelings for each other by eating flowers. Everything just so out of place here, like weird musical choices, which, while I'm on that subject, this soundtrack is awful and never matches what's going on. I'll go as far as to say the worst soundtrack and placement of music in a DC film to date. They're also jumping from one location to the next with flashbacks to when Arthur was young so we can get Arthur's origin story crammed in too. And that's not all. Not one, but 2 fights with Orm. And even although the city seems pretty advanced, at its depths, the life that calls it home is still pretty primitive. They still have Colosseum battles to the death over which kin should be king, just like in Black Panther. It was stupid then, it's even a stupider decision to mimic it. And don't forget the Ocean War. There's just too much going on in this movie. And if you're one of those who thought Man of Steel's kill count was way too high, be prepared to have something else to complain about, because Aquaman tops that by a long shot. Even though Mira does tell Arthur too many have died, they need to end this war quickly with no more bloodshed to try to ease that weird feeling you just got by watching the hero waste thousands. And overall, the movie's just too long. It's 2 hours and 23 minutes to be exact. About 23 minutes longer than it should have been. So much of this is just mindless filler that could have been cut out. I'll give Aquaman's story a 2.5 out of 5. Now from there, let's brighten up this tone a bit and talk about what I loved about Aquaman, and that's the action. It's fast-paced with neck-breaking speed. Wan shows us exactly why the DC wanted his skills to direct this film. He uses his signature wide lens to open up the field of view, making sure the audience doesn't miss one punch. From the seamless opening with Nicole Kidman to the fights with Orm, I don't think there was one action sequence in this film I disliked. And let's not forget my favorite action sequence of them all. And honestly, probably my favorite thing about this movie, period. And that's the submarine sequence where Aquaman manhandles the pirates, throwing them around like ragdolls, tossing them from one wall to another, sealing the floor, throwing sub-hatches like Captain America's shield. It was barbarian and so cool. The whole sequence just kind of reminded me of the Hulk and what he did to Loki. I was really impressed. Wan really outdid himself here. And even though it's still not top tier as say Mission Impossible Fallout, I would go as far as to say as the action, as far as I'm concerned, it would fall into my top 5 of 2018, no problem. I'll give the action here a 4.5 out of 5. From here, let's discuss the acting where we take another downturn. Aquaman seems like a cool dude. He drinks beer, he takes selfies with burly fans, and he, well, drinks beer and has tats and long hair. He's a real cool guy, we get it. But Momoa has a narrow acting range, limited to one-liners and shouting. And as far as Heard, it's just more of the same, and it didn't help things that Momoa and Heard have zero chemistry. Which is why I'm going to have to stop here for a second and talk about Marvel. I hate to compare the two, but you have to when you're talking comic book movies. And I feel like for so long people have been talking about how the DC's dark and Marvel is so light, and that's what makes Marvel so much better, but I really don't think that's it. I think it's the chemistry between the Marvel actors that really enhanced the effect. I didn't believe 1 second of this romance. Then there's the villain, Patrick Wilson's Orm. The character has no dimensions. He's just another villain who wants to rule the world and claim his throne as Ocean Master. Wilson here overacts most of this film. Doesn't even seem like he's even trying. The best moment of acting in the film takes us back to near the beginning, and again to the submarine battle between Manta and his father. When Manta's father gets pinned and Manta asks Arthur for help, but he refuses. It's more emotional and convincing than anything else in this movie. For a moment I thought, we may have a well-built villain here, but Manta ends up underutilized. I'll give the acting a 3 out of 5. And lastly, the effects. This is a different film for director James Wan. Mostly known for his horror movies like Saw and The Conjuring, here he creates a huge, epic display of computer-generated imagery. It's bright, it's colorful, it even glows in the dark, creating an electrifying environment. It's a totally new direction for the DC as they try to course correct without rebooting this entire universe. The aquatic scenes that create about 2/3 of this movie are natural and smooth. Recreating how hair and capes move underwater, I'm sure, is no easy task. But here it looks and feels as if it was done with finesse. Wan goes big with the massive world of Atlantis that feels like an alien world, a high-tech underwater city. Wan also has the task of creating unique aquatic life, imagining giant seahorses, sharks, and even sea krakens that literally just destroy massive armies. On the dark side though, as good as these effects look, there still isn't anything that I could call groundbreaking here. Effects this fascinating have been around a while. Sea krakens aren't anything new. Glow-in-the-dark vegetation existed years ago, such as in 2009's Avatar, and tidal waves have been a part of disaster movie culture since the 90s. And when they speak underwater, there's this heavy use of reverb to dampen the sound, which makes everyone sound like they're speaking in a large auditorium, that I found to be very distracting. I mean, I know what they were going for, I personally just didn't like it. I'll give the effects a 4 out of 5. So in the end guys, Aquaman's action and effects are visually stunning sensory overload, but not enough to keep its story and its acting from sinking to the bottom of the ocean floor. Still, Aquaman was fun enough to be entertaining and another wave the DC can ride as it tries to course correct into the future. And when the final score was tallied up guys, Aquaman received 14 of the possible 20 points, barely giving Aquaman a C-. Thanks guys for coming out and checking my review of Aquaman. If you like this review and you want to see more like it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right there and join the quest.